comments to dissect from Freddie Gibbs, who we have also broached on the channel before. Uh,
Mhm.
Freddie Gibbs is not a fan of AI in hip hop. He thinks that it's lazy. He doesn't like it. He's not a fan. Obviously, AI with respect to making music, also a consistent theme throughout the Conscious Approach channel. So this isn't foreign territory. But this says Freddie Gibbs criticizes AI usage in hip hop. We in a lazy day and age. Freddie Gibbs is the latest rapper to weigh in on the growing use of artificial intelligence in music, especially in hip hop. During his conversation on the Ryan Russillo podcast, Gibbs voiced his strong concerns about how artists are increasingly leaning on the technology to create their music. According to Gibbs, he's in a space where he can't fully believe an artist wrote their own material, as he's seen several people using ChatGPT to craft their rhymes. Gibbs's comments reflect a wider conversation in hip hop and beyond, as AI tools like ChatGPT are increasingly seeping into the music industry. While some see AI as a tool for brainstorming and efficiency, others, such as Gibbs, believe it strips away authenticity and the raw emotion that has always been central to music. 17-year-old Chicago rapper Baby Chief Do It, never heard of this person, recently caught heat after a comment he made led fans to believe he used ChatGPT to write his own lyrics. Earlier this month, the rapper visited Power 105.1 and admitted he recently downloaded the app and used it to write his lyrics. After catching heat for his comments, Baby sent another message out on his Instagram story saying, "If ChatGPT was a solution to all my problems, why in the absolute F would I give y'all the sauce?" So here is Freddie Gibbs talking about how much he doesn't like AI in music.
But they got AI rap now, man. I don't even believe nobody that write that I don't even believe if you really even make it anymore, because motherfuckers is I've been in studios with motherfuckers and motherfuckers is Chat GPT and this shit, and I'm like, what in the fuck? And I'm like, damn, how long am I gonna be able to do this shit? Because I'm really actually making fresh shit. How long I'm gonna be able to do it when this motherfucker's in the studio typing into a computer getting their lyrics?
Yeah, I had somebody ask me on like screenwriting. They're like, "Are you using Chat GPT now?" Screenwriting. I was like, "God, no! Like, it's hard enough as it is. Like, why would you? Why would you even want to put yourself through the process of doing something like that? Then just be like, hey, pump out some just generic dialogue for me."
People lazy, man. You know what I'm saying? We in a lazy day and age, man. Art is dying. You know what I'm saying? When you got to ask the computer and shit to write your lyrics, shit is whack.
Yeah, so there's Freddie Gibbs, man. He's not a fan. He is not a fan. So, what are your thoughts on what Freddie Gibbs said about rappers using AI to basically write their own rhymes?
I'm not surprised here. And let me start off by saying this. All right. Freddie Gibbs recently had a little spat with my boy Currency here, and didn't care for that. Didn't care for that. So he's currently blacklisted right now until I get over it. But Gibbs does bring up a good point here, in the sense that, I do believe that rappers are doing that nowadays. I can somewhat hear it. I might catch some flack for this take here, but we just covered the clips. That album. I'm not saying it was AI generated. I heard AI in that album. Now, hang on. I forgot what song. I'll look it up while you talk. But there was a song I heard. Pharrell was singing on the hook, and song goes hard, by the way. But as I'm listening to it, I go, "What made him do that?" I know Pharrell is a musical genius, so that's why he did it. But I said, what made you do that? That sounded like AI. Now, it wasn't an AI voice or anything like. I think the idea came from AI. When I was I'm just TikTok scrolling. Somebody broke down a rhyme scheme of one of the songs on the album, where I think it was either Malice, I think it was probably Malice or something, where he was saying numbers throughout the whole rhyme, but all the numbers added up to something like 48. I think it was talking about some first 48 stuff. And it was like, oh, this is a crazy rhyme scheme. Or they said that every other bar rhymed with it. It was another one where every other bar rhymed with it. I said, what made them do this? They weren't doing this before. You could say it's their age because they're in their 50s. But what made them do that? And then to me, I said, this isn't. They wrote this. And I was saying that. I was saying that this was AI assisted when I heard it. Then but yeah, as I was saying, so it adds credence to my theory that they had assistance with making some of the songs on that album. And so I don't think it fully did it for him. I think that they said, hey, put in, make a, give me. Sometimes. All right. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're back. So, so yeah, as I was saying, I think that they used it to get assistance for their rhyme schemes or how to do certain things or whatever to make a song more, unique, and so that was just for them. Of course, me saying that, I'm going to be labeled as a hater. Of course, this is going to be labeled as, oh, you won't give these guys their flowers. You're saying that AI did it. Like, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff for that. But I'm telling you right now, I think that album was AI assisted. That's not me hating that. I heard it. So the same thing goes with all these other guys that, that aren't as big or had a big industry push. The guys that pump out so much music all the time now or whatever. Like, of course, they would use AI assistance. So I'm not surprised that, Gibbs has been in studio sessions where guys are just chat GPT in it. And because a lot of these guys were having ghostwriters anyway. So last thing I'll say is that there's so many artists back in the day where there was the idea of them being an artist was that they're the artist and that everybody else in the room are contributors to the album or contributors to the song. And that the cash cow, the person that looks the part, talks the part, and all the other stuff like that, they're the ones that go out there and says the stuff on the track. And this is going on for generations since the industry was the industry. And so you'll hear, like when Drake was having this whole faux pas with him having ghostwriters and stuff, you'll hear old heads talking about how people in the whole studio would help collaborate on making a song. Give him an idea for this, So cutting out the extra people in the room and having chat GPT to do that, whatever, So if you're using it to supplement it, fine. But if you're using that as your whole diet, that is kind of corny. And eventually it's going to come out that your bars are pretty corny. But in a day where the game is oversaturated and everybody's hooked on quick dopamine rushes and MSG and high fructose corn syrup, that's what chat GPT can pump out. So you weren't using many brain cells anyway to come up with your bars. So you damn sure don't have to use any more with, inputting it into a bot. So all in all, yeah, rappers been lazy before chat GPT. And especially if they were making GMO raps to begin with, they weren't using many brain cells anyway, and they were still lazy. So all in all, I think that it's just showing how lazy guys have always been. But what are your thoughts, man, on Freddie Gibbs saying that these rappers nowadays are using chat bots in order to craft their songs because, well, they're lazy? What are your thoughts, man?
Do you think that rappers who never approached making music like that would start using AI? So, like, do you think a rapper who didn't have a room full of people contributing, who didn't have people assisting with writing, right? Like guys who actually did have a notepad or whatever they did, whatever their writing process was, and that was it. That's what everything. That was all that went into the song. Do you think that the guys who did do it that way, do you think that some of them would transition to start using Chat GPT?
No, I
Okay,
personally.
I don't either. So I think what Gibbs is getting at is not necessarily AI itself, but the lazy
Correct.
artistry. So I
Correct.
feel like Freddie Gibbs has the same problem with Chat GPT that he has with rappers who had ghostwriters.
I agree.
So
Yes.
for me, yeah, so the problem isn't necessarily about AI itself. It's about the fact that there's people who take artistry for granted and don't care about approaching it with a certain level of authenticity,
Correct.
whether it's Chat GPT or not. And from that standpoint, I hear what he's saying. I agree with that. I just there's a disconnect here. There's a disconnect here for sure. Someone such as myself who believes in authenticity, and I perceive certain things to be inherent in authenticity, like you actually creating the thing for yourself. I believe in that. I think less about an author who wrote a classic novel if I find out that said author had other people helping them write the novel. I feel differently about that. I do. If that's the case, then it should be notated that it was written by all of these different people. But if I'm sold on the idea that a particular author wrote a novel singularly, then it means something to me that I believe in the idea that that author singularly wrote that novel. Like that means something to me. So there's a disconnect going on here because I think what we have happening right now in society is the idea that you can have ghostwriters or Chat GPT, but still maintain the same level of authenticity with respect to creating art. I think that I think there's an element of the conversation that is trying to suggest that. And I think that there's a disconnect because there's people such as myself who are saying, no, fundamentally, if you're using these things, it's not authentic. And I'm not going to respect it.
Correct.
So I'm done. At this point, I give up. Like I said, like I have given up trying to understand this stuff. I've given up trying to understand why people are doing what they're doing. I've given up trying to understand people's frame of reference or their ideology. So if there's anybody in the comments of this video who would like to try to explain to me why you are just as authentic using Chat GPT or AI as you are when you're not using these things and you're really doing it from your heart, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear that input. Help me to understand what I'm missing here. Because this to me is the same sort of ideological disconnect that I feel when presented with the idea that I should, look at a woman with the same level of respect who does OnlyFans as I view a woman who is a lawyer or something like this. Like there's an element out there that's trying to suggest that the woman who's a sex worker is no different than the woman who's an attorney. They're both women who are putting in work. They both reserve the same level of esteem and respect in terms of the way that you perceive them. One is no different than the other. They retain the same level of status in terms of how we qualify it. And I fundamentally disagree with that because I am going to respect and hold the woman who's an attorney in much higher esteem than the woman who does OnlyFans. But what the world is telling me is that it's all the same and that I shouldn't look at it that way. Just like the world is telling me that an artist who uses AI to create art is essentially the same as an artist who does it with pure soul and muscle and just the strength of his own mind. And I don't understand it, but clearly the world is saying otherwise. So I invite people to help me understand what it is that I'm missing, because I think that this is a generational disconnect, and for the life of me, I'll never understand it, even though I know that this is the direction that the world is moving in. But I firmly believe that Freddie Gibbs would probably be complain. Freddie Gibbs probably complains just as much about ghostwriters as he does about AI and Chat GPT. He looks at all of it as laziness. But for they probably got on the conversation of AI somehow, some way. So it is what it is. But I feel like he is someone who is on my timeline in terms of how he perceives what the true essence of artistry is supposed to be. And I think we are looking at two fundamentally diametrically opposed points of view at this point. People who look at the utilization of AI and say it has just as much soul and authenticity as something that as a yield that didn't include any of that stuff. And I don't understand that, and I disagree with it, but I'm pretty sure people can show me where I'm going wrong and how I'm crazy on that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, bro, the term artist, we were given these terms. People use these terms, but they're not really artists. They're performers. So Drake is a good performer because somebody can give him a reference track and he can perform it well. So Drake is a good performer. Those guys that I was telling you before that were industry people that were justifying contributions to their songs, those guys are just performers. These are guys that were, posed shirtless on Double XL magazine and Source. These guys were industry guys. We heard their albums because they went to those parties. We weren't given the best. We were given performers. So we weren't really given artists. We were given actors. And this has gone on since the industry got co-opted. So then people will hear about their air quote favorite rapper having ghostwriters or teams contributing. And then you're like, damn, so-and-so had other people writing his music. Yeah. You liked a performer. You liked an actor. And you didn't like an actual artist. Actual artists are kind of boring, air quote, introverted, a little weird. That's a real artist. But the guys that were making noise, the guys that were in the industry, yes, they had people helping them. They had ghostwriters. They had the whole 9 yards. And at some point, people that like to hold on to actual artistry are going to have to come to grips with that their favorite songs had contributors to it, and your boy didn't write that. So once I got over that, because once the whole Drake thing came out and people were coming out the woodworks just justifying this, I was like, so all y'all was just playing games. Well, I wrote the majority of it, but I just had my boy, give me a suggestion over here with the... All right, man. But where was the line drawn? You know what I'm saying? And you're just telling me about that, but how far else did it go? So I feel as though in order to keep up with labels, in order to keep up with deadlines, demands, people had ghostwriters and other types of things to supplement how they actually made stuff, which historically, because artistry isn't an industrial form, artistry is something that people do as a form of expression, not an industrial product. So when they say that these guys are rap artists or whatever, no, they're not. That's That's literally contradicting one another. You can't be an industrial artist, but that's what they would like us to know. And so that's why the majority of people that are stuck in this rap game would either use a chat bot or have contributors or ghostwriters or whatever people want to call it. Completely understandable. But that's why those niche followings for people that are on underground, not to say that underground people don't do it, but you can kind of hear that they don't do that. And that's why underground people have such a cult following, such a strong following, because those people are, you can hear the repetitiveness in their mind. Like, this is how this person thinks. You know what I'm saying? You know, whatever. But the mainstream people, the people that's keeping up with the Joneses, high levels of production, high levels of writing, and high levels of this and that, those people have assistance, 1,000%. And those labels aren't rolling these people out there with just their own, this air quote artist's own mind and imagination. They're going to have a contributions of all kinds of minds to put out a product that can be digested by a lot of people. So all that stuff to say is that this stuff has been going on so long as the industry has been co-opted. All right. And so, you know, get used to it, people, because it's not going anywhere so long as this genre is being commodified. So you're just going to have to find the people that are keeping it authentic. So, yeah, Gibbs, you may be keeping it authentic. I won't be listening to you for about a few months until this currency stuff blows over. But all in all, I agree, man. The whole rap game's lazy, man. And I would argue that it's always been lazy.
The whole world is lazy. The world in general is lazy.
I agree.
Lazy, less moral, less principled, less ethical. The whole world is like that. I think music and entertainment is a microcosm of the sensibilities of humans in 2025. Movies are made more lazily and haphazardly today than they were before. You would never in 2025 be able to make The Godfather. Wouldn't be able to happen. That had to be made in the 70s because nowadays when things are microwaved and just kind of thrown out there for consumption for the purposes of just being able to easily consume it as quickly as possible so that you can move on to the next thing to easily consume. Nothing can fester and grow large enough to actually become a work of art. I don't even know what is being done anymore these days that is classic. What classically is being done nowadays?
I don't know,
in any capacity. I'm not just talking about movies. Give it to me. Music, sports. Where is the classic stuff that's being done? Where? I don't see it.
I don't see it.
I don't see any of it. So everything nowadays is lazy. Everything, including music. And yeah, maybe it's shame on me for taking the word artist too literally. Perhaps I can hold myself accountable for that. Not that I ever believed that rappers truly were artists. That's just a word that I used to use because that's the word everybody uses. It's like it's like saying I'm black. Like I don't identify as black per se, but everyone uses the word, so I'll use the word because it's what everybody understands. So I never literally looked at rappers as artists per se. They're not playing any instruments. They're not doing any of that. Like people like Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, those are artists. A rapper to me is not an artist.
Agreed.
But within the context of what it takes to be a rapper and do it in a form that I can respect, I've always been able to tell the difference between something that is hokey and ridiculous and something that's authentic. But what's happening nowadays is the notion of artistry is being conflated with hokiness to the point where now you can be hokey and you can convince me with a straight face that that's just as artistic. And I'm not buying it. I don't buy it, and I refuse to accept it. But I know that that's what's going on because it's going on everywhere. It's not just in music. People are trying to sell me garbage every day and try to convince me that it's like anything other than garbage. So I totally get it. Somebody just help me understand. Help me understand why I am to respect a rapper who uses ChatGPT to write his rhymes just as much as a rapper who doesn't. Explain to me why I should respect them all the same, because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say is back when I actually did used to write some. Oh snap! What the hell? Oh yeah, my bad. Back when I actually did used to write rhymes and stuff, I would use a rhyming dictionary. That's not the same thing, man. So I would use a rhyming dictionary for assistance. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and ask a chatbot for bars. Like that to me is aggressive. But if I ask a chatbot to just spit out rhymes, hey, what rhymes with refrigerator? Hurry up, and it gives me other things. All right, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can use that. So if you're using a chatbot for that, I don't consider that. It's no different than looking at an actual dictionary, you know. But using it to construct a song for you, or give me bars based on this, that is extremely lazy, and I know guys are doing that. So hey man, charge it to the game. But if you like an artist that uses AI bars, that's an indictment on you. That's an indictment on you. So we'll see, man. But I do think it'd be a lot more prevalent. I mean, people are using chatbots like it's a calculator. Like, I'm not going to even use my brain. I'm gonna just ask the chatbot. So it's gotten to that point, and it's only going to get worse. And by the way, AI psychosis is a real thing now. So yeah, don't be surprised if you're going to see a lot more of this AI level stuff. So I think this is really going to create a divide with actual artistry and the GMO stuff. So I think over time it'll start to stratify itself, and you'll be able to tell. Right now, things are so new that people really don't know what's up or what's down. But eventually, listeners will have the ear of, this is AI, and
Yeah, I don't think it's a point of whether it will be more easily recognizable. I think it's a point of that it'll be identified as equally as artistic. That's
well,
the
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. So hey, they're calling Smeck's work a real job nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. So yeah, it's all being conflated. That's so it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, but I think that's the sticking point for people who don't like it.
Yeah, I ain't
Is
buying
that there is no longer is that in due time there's not going to be a discernible difference
yeah.
between whether that is artistic or not, because it'll just be identified as just as artistic. So
Yeah, with agents like Timberland out there. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot more of this, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind accepting new things, but don't try to force me into believing that the new thing is something that is not. And that's the thing is, the new thing is just the same as what you've always believed, instead of properly rating it based upon its own unique standard because it's the new thing. That's the way we should look at all this stuff. Sex work is not regular work. AI, AI in music is not like music without AI. They're not the same. So stop
Agreed.
trying to get me to believe that they are the same.